Back to my dad's channel. Welcome back to my dad's channel. Welcome back to my dad's channel.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. This is Phoenix 198720 here to bring you my latest episode and my Let's Talk About series. But before I get into this video, I'd like you to do me a solid. Hit that like button. Share this with all your friends and family and across all your guys' social media platforms. If you're new to my channel, do me a solid. Hit that subscribe button followed by the notification bell. And if you're one of my returning subscribers, I love you guys a lot and I appreciate all the support that you send towards my channel. And drop me down a comment below. The good, the bad, heck, any Nintendo related topic that you want to see me do on this channel, put that down in the comment. But let's get going on this episode. And for today's topic, for my Let's Talk About series, we're going to be talking about the Legend of Zelda timeline. New fan theory timeline. And it does work. And I'm looking at the Zelda timeline right now. And this is officially what Nintendo has said. That it goes Skyward Sword, Minish Cap, Ocarina of Time. Then you have three options, three branches that it breaks down. Hero Defeated, Hero Succeeds, and Hyrule Floods. Which has Hero Defeated, Link to the Past, Link's Awakening, A Link Between Worlds, Triforce Heroes, Orcas of Seasons and Ages, Legend of Zelda 1, Legend of Zelda 2. And the Hero Succeeds has Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess, Four Swords Adventure. And the Hyrule Flood is Wind Waker, Phantom Hourglass, Spirit Trap. And all three of those timelines gets into the Breath of the Wild. Oh, and then followed by Breath of the Wild 2. I'm not going to be talking about Age of Calamity or any other spin-off Zeldas. I'm talking about this timeline that Nintendo's throwing out right now. Now, a lot of the Zeldas games, at the beginning of the game, if you let it play through, if it's Link to the Past or anything like that, always talked about this great war and that the goddess had to do something to protect the Triforce. Every story is the same. It always has that clip at the beginning of it. Then I was playing Breath of the Wild. Then I got the new Zelda game, Skyward Sword, and I haven't played it for years, so my memory was a little rusted. So I was playing, I'm thinking of stuff, and I'm looking at the map. And the map makes sense to the Breath of the Wild because it shows a lot of places that's on the Skyward Sword map that's currently in Breath of the Wild. Now, if you take a look at the same map and other maps in the game, like I'm going to go to the Majora's Mask in Ocarina of Time, because in Majora's Mask, the connection between Ocarina of Time is literally the Lost Woods. And which kind of makes sense, which you got those territories, which is featured in Skyward Sword, and the same areas are featured in Breath of the Wild. Now, when I saw the trailer for Breath of the Wild 2, some things started popping out more to me. And I'm noticing stuff, and I could be just over-analyzing things like crazy. Could be easily over-analyzing. But you see an island in the sky, and I'm not talking about the castle, you see an island in the sky. So it got me thinking, and it got me looking at some Legend of Zelda maps that they have there. So I'm going to remove Breath of the Wild, and this is me, Breath of the Wild, from the bottom of the thing. I want you guys to think about this. The Great War. Could the Great War be the fight? And this is where Age of Calamity kind of plays into the mix. What happens if the fight in Age of Calamity, but not the winning side, you actually do lose, and Link losing and waking up 100 years later, which is where you wake, starts in Breath of the Wild, and he battles, goes through, and ends up battling Ganon and winning. But the war's not over. We already see in Breath of the Wild 2 that a bad guy is coming about. A bad guy is rising up from the ground. Then you see the small little teaser trailer that Breath of the Wild 2 was, and it gets people thinking. And it at least got me really thinking a lot. And I started thinking, and then Skyward Sword came out, and I'm thinking a little more, and I'm like, damn, there may be a connection. That's Breath of the some of the Age of Calamity and Breath of the Wild 1 and 2 take place over X amount of time, 100 and some years. Is that the Great War that everything refers to? That in the end, the only thing the goddess could do was take a piece of land and put it up to the sky and make a cloud barrier so it was smothering everything down there? Because you start off as a knight, and a knight in Breath of the Wild. That's all you are, is a knight to Princess Zelda and the Hyrule family. And even if it's Hyrule, maybe they just threw the names on the map just so they can have names on the map. But you're a knight that ends up, I'm assuming ends up in Breath of the Wild 2 as the hero that eventually gets lost. And because the fighting's so bad that they take you up to this guy, that time has passed because Zelda is now represented as the resurrection of the goddess. Link is in Skyward Sword. Link is the representative of the hero of the gods, chosen by the gods to relive the original heroes. Who doesn't say that Breath of the Wild are the original Link and Zelda? The number one Link and Zelda. Because we know as time winds over and over again, you get the story as told as things pass down. So, you go from Skyward Sword into the Minish Cap. And once you get through the Minish Cap, the next game is Ocarina of Time, which is why we got 3 divided timelines. And it kind of makes sense. Because as a kid from the woods, it was not a member of, he was an outsider, and you could see that he was an outsider, that this hero character, who you named, whatever you wanted, got the clothes of the hero of the gods. And the hero of the gods is what is represented. And that Zelda is ascended of the original Zelda. So you gotta piece that all together. So yeah, if Link as a kid, cannot defeat Ganon and stop his plan, then you're gonna have one of the shitty ass stories. But I want to clip back to Skyward Sword for a second. If you pay attention to the bad guy in Skyward Sword, he's always referring to his master that's trapped, his master that can get out. Could it be the Ganon that's been beat down multiple times? Just think about that. Now, like I was going back, because I like doing this, you go to Links to the Past, which refers to a character who lives with his uncle, who seeks to find the Triforce from the gods. And then you got the light and dark world, which kind of makes sense, which leads to Link Awakening. So after he does what he does and goes out on his venture and gets shipwrecked, washes up on an island, he helps the people from the island to succeed. And this is where you don't get a Ganon. You don't get a Zelda. It's just Link. And it's just what it is. It's just Link. There's no really outside character that's been involved in the Zelda games in Link Awakening. Then at the end of the game, you're back on your boat and you're going back, which leads into a link between worlds, which you're coming back, but you're able to go from the light world to the dark world and stuff like that, which is a big, huge thing with a link to the past. Which, when you end off, you're finding a new Triforce, you're finding new powers to this whole thing. And with the Triforce Heroes, yes, it's Triforce Heroes, but between that game and Zelda, Legend of Zelda, the original, there's the tragedy, the accident that happens to the Zelda, and you're trying to resurrect the name Legend of Zelda, because at this point, you're just a character, and you're listening to a story being told of a legend. You're not the legend yourself. You're a young man who sets out on an adventure to live the footsteps of the legend. Where Princess Zelda is still Princess Zelda, captured by Ganon. And then at the end of the game, Ganon puts her under a spell and becomes what number 2 is, where you're going through to break the spell. And then that's it. You live happily ever after. There's no more to that story. But they're saying Breath of the Wild comes afterwards. Yeah, hear me out. Then you have the hero success timeline, where Link is successful. But here's the catch. He doesn't work. Even that he wrote, part 2 is him going to adult, and then at the end of the game, Zelda places him back into his original timeline, and you see his fairy float away because she no longer is needed to help Link, which is great and all. So you chase after your fairy and follow the fairy into the woods, which you get lost and you end up in a different territory, which is all awesome. But you're a kid. When you do all this stuff and you get through the game and everything, you break Majora's down, and you see that the characters cross from Ocarina of Time into Majora's Mask. You see all that. It's a familiar territory, but you're growing up. And then you get into the Twilight Princess, so you're not that kid anymore from the Majora's Mask. You have grown up. You've been through all these hoops and loops. You're living peaceful in a town where you're helping out. You're not the hero anymore. You're no longer that hero anymore. But you get brought back into it because dimensions get mixed. You get the Twilight Realm, because this is a multiverse at this point, taking over the realm that you're on. And you help the Twilight Princess be successful in her world, because Ganon is still a very powerful person. Not Ganondorf, Ganon. Which then leads you into the Four Swords and the Four Swords Adventures, which is, again, a story told of a legend that's no longer there. Now we're going to get into the Hyrule Flood, and this is where things get a little bit complicated. This is the ending of Ocarina of Time. As an adult, Link lives out his days, just like Luke Skywalker does, disappears, and ends up just, chilling by himself, isolated. Time has passed, and your hero of time dies from old age. And because the world's so bad, and Ganon coming back, destroying the world of Hyrule, floods it, things get changed. And if you take a look at it, that the land in Wind Waker can be simply as designed as the Skyward Sword, just the water that high now that the islands and stuff is literally Skyward Sword. Just water's up so high, people have adapted, a couple hundred years have passed, stories of the hero of time has been passed down over generations, which is the great. And again, Link, or whoever you want to call the hero in the game, the character you play, is not Link. He's just a little boy that his grandmother gave him green suits to wear. Princess Zelda ain't Princess Zelda anymore. She is a part of the descent of the original Zelda, which gets you into Phantom Hourglass, which still is a continuation of Wind Waker, which eventually leads him on to a different world a different continent that he has discovered. And you got Skyward Sword, Spirit Tracks, which leads into the Breath of the Wild. But what happens if we scrap that? Because Nintendo is famous for saying one timeline, then turn around and say, no, this is actually the true timeline that we were. and says that Breath of the Wild 1, 2, and half of Age of Calamity is actually the beginning. It's actually Great War. It's actually what we had in mind. We're connecting all these movies like with a simple, complex puzzle and making sure everything fits in. But until we give you that puzzle piece, you're gonna be running around trying to put that puzzle again, but it won't fit. Nintendo's got all of this planned out, and they're waiting for technology so they can drop their sword. They just pulled what's his name? George Lucas. When he did his Star Wars, he started with 4, 5, and 6, and then went 1, 2, and 3, 7, 8, and 9. So he put the middle of the movie out first, the middle of everything. So, what do you guys think? Do you guys think that could it be a possible chance that Breath of the Wild and 1 and 2 and a part of the Age of Calamity is actually the Great War that every Zelda game talks about besides Age of Calamity, Breath of the Wild 1? Because they don't really talk, they talk about the war that's going on, but they never talk about the Great War. So could half of Age of Calamity, Breath of the Wild 1 and 2 be that Great War that the goddess decided, you know what, it's not going to happen, they're not going to win on Earth, let's take what we can and we bring up this god? Because if you look at certain details in Breath of the Wild, in Skyward Sword, like the goddess statue, Breath of the Wild. Goddess statue, also same design as Skyward Sword. It's all the same design, the same look, the same everything. So why not say we took a huge piece of the ground and we brought it up there? What we needed to bring it up there. We're gonna leave a couple of people down on the world. We're gonna let them live and protect and do misdirection so we can keep things confusing. And at least throw off Ganon so he doesn't know where the Triforce is. So, who's all may be thinking that, yes, Breath of the Wild 1, 2, and half of Age of Calamity is that Great War that every Zelda game talks about? To me, it makes sense. And it makes a lot of good sense, too. So, I'm going to throw that at you and let you guys stew on that for a bit. So, it's the end of my segment. So, I want you guys to do me a solid. Hit that like button, share this with all your friends and family, and across all your social media platforms. Then I want you to, if you're new to my channel, hit that subscribe button. I do really appreciate it. Followed by the notification bell. And if you're a returning subscriber to my channel, I love you so much, and I love the support that you show me in my channel. And drop me down a comment below. The good, the bad, it's all good to me. Heck, you want to drop down a topic that's Nintendo related for my channel to cover? I will do that, and I will get that done for you. So until further ado, this is Phoenix 198720 saying I hope you guys have a good morning, a good evening, a good afternoon. Peace.